You talked about with us pre-show, was you had a discussion with a colleague, I think it was, about toxic femininity. Is that correct?
Yeah, we did have that conversation because I think so often toxic masculinity comes up and that's all we hear about. And it's kind of turned into a way to attack and just kind of make men the bad guys of a lot of stories. Yeah. But then no one is addressing that there's always an equal and opposite reaction. So what's going on with the women as well? It used to be, thank you. It used to be that they were so hyper dependent, and that's kind of what was looked at as toxic femininity, is being too dependent on your husband, needing him to do everything, and you just taking care of house and home. But now we've overcorrected so much that a lot of people are teaching our young girls and our young women that you don't need a man, you don't need a partner because you can be hyper independent, which there's nothing wrong with wanting to be in a partnership. And I don't think teaching young women that we should be ashamed to want those things is the right way to go. Mm-hmm. And you talked about it. It's like the pendulum. It's either we're over here or we're over here. Like, why can't we meet in the middle and teach these young women that they are independent, they're intelligent, they can make their own money, but they can also have a really great partner in someone and rely on someone without thinking all men are bad and I'm too good of a woman to need a man or anything like that. Like, why have we weaponized, like you said, weaponized these roles and like what women can be and can't be?
I think you said it perfectly with the want versus the need. Mm-hmm. Like I think that's it right there.
Yeah, like I love my husband dearly. He's the greatest.
You don't need him.
Yeah. There's a lot of things.
New T-shirt idea.
Right?
Like, you don't need him.
Heart,
just Taylor with that.
In my heart, nice I need him. But I do think like I am independent enough where if anything happened, I would be able to overcome a lot and be able to stand on my own 2 feet. And I think the same for him. But I want him. I want him in my life. And I want him as my pillar of strength in our relationship. And I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not ashamed of having a husband or a partner who I get to spend my life with, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of that. But do we need each other? We could probably walk away today and we'd be fine. Devastating, but fine. But that's what I mentioned earlier is I'm not half of a person. I'm a whole person who has worked their stuff out, and he's a whole person who's worked his stuff out. And we come together to make each other better. We're not, okay, you bring your half and I bring my half, and we kind of morph into one unit.
Both in pieces at the end of the day. Like,
if I could just add one thing to that, because I think it's important, is that, you know, as you're talking about, you know, women kind of, you know, being on the island and being so independent, it's like, we know how the story ends. That's part of the issue that Taylor brought up, where you have men that are, I don't need anybody, I don't need anything, I don't need to connect emotionally, and they're hurting now. I think that's some of the stuff he brought up, is like, that's part of the reason, is that they're alone, or they feel alone, or they don't know how to emote, they don't know how to talk about stuff because we don't need anything, whatever. Again, I think that's the other thing of like, let's not make the same mistake twice in this sense. And again, it's how do we synthesize? How do we bring it together?